Symbolism is an amazing plot device used in storytelling to represent characters, events, and themes. One thing that I find to be very interesting about symbolism is how it can have different meanings depending on how it is interpreted. One may even completely miss it if they look at the symbol being used at face value. The Last of Us often uses symbolism to connect a character to a specific object and to set the tone of a scene. This gives a lot of things in the series multiple meanings due to how the characters connect with them and the hidden message that players may see. Before I get into how The Last of Us uses symbolism, however, I just want to apologize for how late this video is. I had been sick for about a week with a sore throat and a terrible cough, and with Christmas right around the corner, I had a lot to do after I recovered. I hope you all had a happy and safe holiday and got whatever gifts you may have asked for. Luckily, I'm feeling better now and am back to working on videos. So now, without further ado, number 7. Abby's Coins. Like her father, Abby had an interest in coins and collected them. Coins are often used to symbolize two sides of something, and in this case, they represent the fact that there are two sides of every story. In the beginning of The Last of Us Part 2, players believed that Abby was a horrible person and did not care for her at all. However, that was largely due to us not knowing her reasons for killing Joel. We viewed the conflict in the same way Ellie did. Halfway into the game, when we begin playing as Abby, we get to learn her side of the story and all the things that happened which led her to kill Joel. As it turned out, she wasn't that different from him nor Ellie, especially seeing as how she's a foil to both of them, something that I discussed in more detail in my foil character video a month ago. While some still hated Abby by the end of the game, others ended up sympathizing with her when they looked at things from her perspective. This was a great use of symbolism, but is at the bottom of this list since it is the most obvious, at least in my opinion. Number 6. The Toy Robot. In The Last of Us Part 1, Joel and Ellie temporarily joined forces with Henry and Sam. Early on in this section of the game, the four found themselves in a toy store, and Sam expressed interest in a robot. Unfortunately, Henry wouldn't allow him to take it as it wasn't something they needed. While it's great that Henry always did his best to look out for Sam, he tended to get so serious that he didn't allow his brother to have any fun or express joy, as if he were a robot. Sam eventually received the toy as Ellie secretly gave it to him hours before he turned, but by then, there was nothing he could have experienced that would have made him happy. Number 5. Animals. There are many animals that the main characters ran into in both games, such as the deer that Ellie hunted in Part 1 and the dogs that Wolf and the Rattlers used in Part 2. Out of them all, the most iconic animal that players will surely remember is the giraffe they may have ran into towards the end of the first game. Giraffes symbolize peace and gentleness. Immediately following the scene in which Joel and Ellie watched the giraffes walk away, he tried to convince her to go back to Jackson and live a peaceful life with him. While she agreed to return, she wanted to find the Fireflies and create a vaccine first. Once Joel learned that they were going to kill her, he fought back to save her life, which led to the conflict between the Salt Lake crew and Jackson. Not only did the giraffes symbolize Joel's desire to live a quiet life with Ellie, but the fact that they were seen walking away also symbolized how by continuing to pursue the Fireflies, the two of them ultimately walked the less peaceful path. Most of the other animals in the series were also used as signs that the story was about to go in an unexpected direction. For example, when arriving at the University of Eastern Colorado, where they believed the Fireflies were, Joel and Ellie saw some monkeys. However, they did not see the Fireflies and were instead attacked by David's followers, something that the characters nor players expected. Similarly, the zebra near St. Mary's Hospital symbolized a turning point in The Last of Us Part 2, as players were about to learn Abby's backstory and play as her for a long time. Nearly every encounter with a wild animal is symbolic in the story, whether it be a change in a scene's tone or how characters define themselves. Number 4. The Rat King. Yes, the most horrifying boss in the franchise is in fact a use of symbolism. Players encountered the Rat King during Abby's second day, when she went to the hospital to find medical supplies to save Yara. While she found what she needed, the Rat King, an abomination of multiple infected put together, also found her. As players were concerned with defeating this monster, it's understandable that they wouldn't think of Ellie at a time like this, but there is an interesting connection between the two. As far as we know, there has only ever been one Rat King, similar to how there's only been one immune person, and, interestingly enough, both of them were determined to kill Abby and were in the same building at the same time. The Rat King symbolizes how much of a threat Ellie is to Abby, being the monster throughout the majority of her story. Number 3. Ellie's Knife. Throughout the games, Ellie's main weapon is a knife that she received in the American Dreams comic, a prequel to the Left Behind DLC that revealed how she met Riley and Marlene. Marlene gave Ellie the knife, which once belonged to her mother, along with a letter that Anna wrote for her before she died. As I had mentioned in my analysis of Ellie, the knife symbolizes her personality. In the comic and the first game, Ellie was scared of being alone. She desperately wanted to build relationships with others, as
everyone I have cared for has either died or left me.
when nobody else was there for her, this knife defended her, and it was something she could easily hold on to, just as she wanted to hold on to those she grew close with. While she has used this knife in self-defense many times, she has also killed with it, which symbolizes the change in her personality. Ellie developed into a very angry, aggressive, and vengeful person who would kill anyone in order to achieve her goals. Just like a knife, Ellie became rather dangerous and ultimately ended up alone again, pushing away those who loved her. Number 2. Joel's watch. Very similar to Ellie's knife, Joel also held onto an object that symbolizes who he is. In the beginning of the first game, Sarah gave him this watch as a birthday gift. While he messed with her at first, saying that he thinks it's broken, it was, in fact, working just fine at first. However, it actually did break in the same scene that Sarah died in. From that moment, Joel was also broken. He was not the same person he was hours prior, going from a loving father to an extremely violent man who would do whatever it took to survive. Over the years, Joel did move past this tragedy, as he loved Ellie the same way he loved Sarah. While his first daughter's death will always be absolutely heartbreaking, the immune girl, like time itself, was able to heal Joel's wounds. Number 1. The light. Look for the light, the Fireflies always said. But did you ever actually notice how light is used throughout The Last of Us? I'm not going to say anything for the next few seconds. As a picture is worth 1,000 words, I would like you to look at the screen if you aren't already. As you can see, Joel heads towards the light many times throughout his journey to bring Ellie to the Fireflies. You are literally supposed to look for the light and get so close to it that it burns, as the Fireflies end up being the last enemy you face in that game. Light is also used a bit in The Last of Us Part 2, but it's much more meaningful in the first game. Interestingly enough, there are times where players head for the darkness. In most of these cases, Joel traveled towards something that took him away from his goal. He got attacked by the hunters in Pittsburgh when he left Bill as it was getting dark and gloomy outside. He and Ellie nearly died when Henry and Sam left them in the middle of the night. The sun was starting to set when he arrived at the University of Eastern Colorado, and he ended up being injured for months. The Last of Us uses light to symbolize progress, not in the game itself, but to the destination that the characters ventured towards. What did you think of this video, and what is your favorite use of symbolism in these games? Do you know of any that may have gone over my head? Let me know in the comments, and have an amazing end of 2023. I look forward to seeing you all again in 2024.